Hello, everybody, and welcome to this extra special bonus episode of the Headspace podcast. I'm not 100% sure if it's still a podcast if I'm by myself talking, but my name is HSR, and I'm going to go through it today because no one else had time to join me, and I thought it would be cool to cover this particular album. Before we get into that, we'll still do some housekeeping. I'm going to go through the album track by track for those of you who are new here, and I'm going to give my thoughts on each of them, give each one a grade, and then give you kind of my impression of the album as a whole at the end. I'm not maybe the greatest, most astute scholar. I've done a little bit of research, looked into it a bit, so just if you have any feedback, suggestions, or ideas, feel free to leave that in the comments, and I'd love to hear what you thought along the way. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Mozart and Liddell Williams, our patrons. And at the end of this video, I'll go a little bit more into that. So if you like it, you can hear a little bit more about, our Patreon. So yeah, instead of all the normal stuff, I guess we'll just kind of jump into it. Today, I'll be talking about Mike Shinoda's post-traumatic album. Earlier this year, I think it was, the post-traumatic EP came out, and I heard it, and I was like, okay. And we didn't really cover it or anything because it was only 3 songs, but it was a little taste, and it was cool to know that Mike Shinoda was working on something. So at this point in the show, normally we like to contextualize how we are connected to this artist. So I am a huge Linkin Park fan. I've liked them since I may be 12 or 13 years old. I've heard every album. I'm even a fan of the last one, One More Light. There's a lot on that I really enjoyed. Mike Shinoda, particularly, has been one of my biggest heroes. I haven't heard all of it, but I've heard most of the underground Fort Minor stuff. I love the Fort Minor project. Him as a rapper, he's just inspirational, right? Because he just had this whole different era about how he approached his music. I mean, it was that Linkin Park rap feel, and then I was able to just do that same kind of stuff on hip-hop. And to me, he's so versatile and interesting, right? So he would be my number one musical hero, idol person if I was to really have one, or really he's the person I guess I look up to the most in music. Part of it is because of how he just seems to embody the spirit of so much, right? He can do all the artwork. I'm fairly certain the artwork for this album is him. I know that I think it was Meteoroa was him spray painting, and he designed a whole bunch of stuff. And the bonus edition came with all this artwork from him. He's just so talented. He plays all these instruments. And I guess a quick note on the album as a whole is pretty much the whole thing, outside of the mixing and the mastering of tracks with vocals on them, was done by him. So all the instrumentation, almost all the lyrics, almost everything is Mike, except for maybe the parts where he featured some people. And that's really cool to know, especially with I guess a title like Post Traumatic. I mean, he's the whole package. He has this whole spirit of music. And I guess before we talk about Post Traumatic as a title and concept, I've always thought it was strange how, I guess, disconnected from hip-hop he always seems to be. Everyone seems to like him, but you never really see him involved in any of that world. And I don't know if it's him that set that up, or if it's that the community doesn't seem to shut him up. But you never really hear Mike Shinoda on a list of great rappers ever, even though I'd say over the course of his career he's proven time and time again he's a pretty talented MC. Anyway, the album's called Post Traumatic. I mean, to me, it's pretty clear how this title came to be. Unfortunately, just under a year ago, Chester did that thing that was very sad. It was the first time in my life, at least, that I understood why people felt a certain way when a famous person passed. Because as much as Mike Shinoda is my hero, Chester's not exactly that far behind. Linkin Park is literally, to me, one of the greatest things to ever happen to music, influential beyond what most people give them credit for. So this album with its title, it's obviously what Mike's coping mechanism was to create this project and to do it on his own. And I think it's just so inspirational as a person, as an artist, regardless of the quality of the music, just to see him do this thing by himself, put it together, and find a way to cope through it all. It's just, I hope that I have that kind of strength in the future if something like that were to happen to me. And it's cool to see that, in light of the tragic events that surrounded him. Now we have this whole new project, this whole new thing that isn't really Fort Minor. He said, like, you know, because Fort Minor is more of a collective, if I understand correctly. It's definitely not Linkin Park. It's more of just a personal Mike Shinoda project, and personal albums are always particularly interesting. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Let's comment on how there's a place to start.
Have a decision, feeling like living in a story already written. I'm a part of a vision made by somebody.
So this was nearly the introduction for the One More Light album, and I guess it just didn't make the cut or whatever happened. So Mike kind of took what was previously done and repurposed it a little bit to kind of suit more of the circumstances of Chester passing. And here we have him kind of just, it's the first taste of this album. My first thoughts when I heard this is, I guess this is going to be like the sound of this project. Now, we had heard the first 3 songs on this EP. I didn't actually check to see if anything changed between them. So if you did and you're watching this, you can let us know in the comments and everyone will benefit from that. But it's just kind of calm, right? It's this like kind of more electronic styled sound going on, so it's not so band driven. It's more like you can picture Mike with Pro Tools, and he's got the instruments and stuff, but it's more like when you picture almost how, like, I guess Nine Inch Nails put something together. At least that's how I pictured it. But then we can go through the lyrics a little bit, because it's kind of this soft thing happening, and he's almost singing a little bit as he's going. I don't have a leg to stand on, spinning like a whirlwind, nothing to land on. Came so far, never thought I'd be done now, stuck in a holding pattern, waiting to come down, etc. And, you know, he's kind of like contextualizing his mind state here. He feels like he's kind of, well, I guess what you would be going through after loss, like things just don't feel real to him. Everything's spinning. Like he doesn't really have any kind of solid foundation or grounding as to who he is, which makes total sense in light of the circumstances. And we know that this was written a lot closer to last July. And then as he kind of goes into the middle part of the verse, he picks up and he kind of adds some more anger almost, or pain and energy into his voice. And as that happens, the beat like picks up and there's more intensity and stuff, and he's got lines like, "Am I part of the vision made by somebody else, pointing fingers at villains, but I'm the villain myself, or am I out of conviction with no one to sail?" And so you get the sense that this is going to be very therapeutic in terms of the content that we're encountering here. So he's expressing almost stream of consciousness. This is his coping process and his coping mechanism. Kind of ends on a calmer. The beat calms down again. He starts singing a little bit more with, I don't want to know the end. All I want is a place to start. Oh, oh. And he kind of like sings and repeats that. And then it ends in a particularly interesting way where there's a whole bunch of phone calls at the end, almost just like what you would expect. Like when people really don't know what to say and they're checking in on you and it's all that stuff. So it's an interesting place to start, because you get like his kind of aimlessness that's going on. It starts the album off in like a good introduction, but you can almost see how, given the content of One More Light, it would have also served on that project as well. And he's really like, it just ends it in such a way where it really hits home, I think. Anybody who's ever lost anybody can probably appreciate receiving calls like that. And I mean, as I understand it, Chester and Mike were like best friends on top of everything else. So, I mean, that was really touching. Now we're going to talk about the grades, and this is where I feel a little bit almost nervous. I give this a 4. I feel like it's super touching and it's super emotional, and there's so much feeling packed into this song, but it's this kind of almost blender end of pop music where it's almost that nuanced kind of floating synthy kind of feeling to it. And I mean, it's nice, but I don't really enjoy the overall sound that he's, I guess, chosen for this project, you could say. So that's going to be a bit of a consistent theme here, is that I respect how well made the beats and the music is, and I respect how well he delivers this pop sound, but it really is just not what I would go to. It's the kind of music that I go, oh, this is really good, and then it kind of like is something I would maybe never seek out again, but if it came on, I'd really appreciate it. So that's the one end of it. Then there's the whole other end where I've been so curious about, I guess, how Mike feels as a Linkin Park fan. And as a fan of Linkin Park and Mike Shinoda in general, what he has to say on this song is so profound. And going through this project, as you'll see, it's almost got this consistency to that therapy feel. And so I'm torn between being a fan and loving what he chose to do with this project and not necessarily enjoying the music as much as I maybe feel I should or something. So you can let me know how you feel in the comments about that. And in the meantime, I guess we will continue on and over again.
I remember if I canceled any show, but I think about what I'm supposed to do. And
this is like another one that was on that EP. So I guess a lot of you who cared have been like sitting with it. I know some people may not have cared. That's why I said it like that. And as a Linkin Park fan, and just I remember watching that show that they did, that like benefit live stream concert where they had all sorts of people coming up. And I remember when they did Numb, and they just, the crowd just sang it. Like they didn't have to put the words in. And it was one of the most touching and endearing things I'd seen. Like for me, it was really cool to like kind of watch that happen. I kind of wish I'd been at that show. I'm not going to lie. It looked truly incredible. But then we had this song, which is the first verse is actually written and recorded before that show on the very same day. So they had to like learn how to play all these songs without Chester and these whole feelings. So he kind of just takes you through that process of being on that day. Like they know they're ready to go, and he's just feeling so fucked up inside, and how he just doesn't know how he's going to handle like this performance and whatnot. And then, you know, you get into the chorus and it's a little bit repetitive. Sometimes you don't say goodbye once, you say goodbye over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And I think my biggest grievance with this song is how repetitive that chorus is. If you guys like that, I totally respect it. It's just never really been my favorite thing when it's just that kind of, I guess, softer. It's not really so energetic. It's more of that calm, almost. And I get it. He's numb and he's feeling these emotions, so it's a good reflection of his state. But I didn't like the chorus that much. But I loved what it was saying. Because you just got to consider now, every time a Linkin Park song comes on, every time they go perform, every time they have these conversations about what we're going to do, it's like they have to consider and revisit all of these emotions and say goodbye to their friend and their comrade one more time. So I can really feel the emotional impact. And the way he's going through that verse, describing that show, I felt the impact. And then there's the second verse where it's like, after it's done, you know? And then he's kind of like responding, I guess, to like everybody. It was written the following day, and I just love how it starts with, what are they saying? I'm not raw. What the fuck do you take me for? All of a sudden, you hear what I've said 100 ways before. I've been pushed, I've been trapped, drugged myself through hell and back and flat, and had the balls to start it all from scratch, you know? And then he kind of goes on and describes like, you know, people kind of are asking him about what's going on, and everyone's kind of impressed with how he's coping and how he's holding it together, but he's really not. He felt that maybe this show would give him some closure, as he says at the end there. All I ever wanted was to get a little bit of closure, and every step I took, I looked, well, anyway, it wasn't any closer. And then, you know, you get the sense that at the end of the day, there's still this hole after, and he's still frustrated and he's still distraught, but he's kind of like pointing out, I've been like expressing myself emotionally for like my whole career doing this type of thing. Why are y'all shocked? Why are y'all fucking saying anything? This is just who I've been forever and ever. I like it more than the first one. I feel like it's got a little bit more energy to it, or maybe it's just a little bit more interesting to me because I know the show that he's talking about. But I could see how, like, if you had no idea what he's talking about, it might be a little bit weird, but I imagine most people who care about this project are caring about this show too. I give it a 4.25. Like, I feel like it's still got that pop instrumental, that's still pop, almost effect driven. Like, his vocals are processed a lot. And I don't know, it's like, I'm already getting the feeling that under a normal circumstance, 16 songs of this is going to be a lot. So I don't know if this is going to be my favorite album. But when I think about the content, I just really keep wanting listening to it. So I just want to know what your feelings were hearing this project again. I know I might say that a few more times. Sorry, I'm not used to doing these by myself. Next up is Watching As I Fall.
As I go, I gave unto my soul.
So I guess this is the end of the EP. This was the third track, and I'm feeling very similar on this song as I was feeling then. Like, all three of these tracks on an instrumental front kind of blend in a little bit together. They're a little bit different. They're distinct. Like, don't get me wrong. He's showing versatility in the production and all of that, but at the end of the day, it feels like that bland, subdued pop music that seems to be like all over, and I never really dug it that much, so I'm not a huge fan of the beat of this song. I feel like it's okay. Lyrically, it's fine. Like, excuse me while I kiss the sky, sing a song, a sixpence pocket full of lies, thinking I'm okay, but they're saying otherwise. Tell me how I look, but can't look me in the eyes. Fucking powerful shit right there, you know? Like, he's kind of gone. He's out there. He's like, apparently, excuse me while I kiss the skies is from both a Jimi Hendrix and a Method Man song. So just to show his versatility, he cited both of them at once. That was from the verified Mike Shinoda Genius comment, because he does have verified comments on every single song. But I really love the part where he's like, people are almost commenting on his state of mind and how he's doing and stuff, but how could they like know anything? Or how could they even have a real opinion if they can't even look him in the eyes, knowing that the eyes are like the window to your soul, and there's almost this shame or this like they don't know how to deal with him in light of everything that's happened, and they're treating him different and such. And he follows it with like, watching as I say this, and then I do that, telling them the old words in a new rap. Then I change my mind and make them lose track. Shit, I'm inconsistent. I thought you knew that. And I mean, that's a little bit of like kind of pointing out how the way he is, he's flippy floppy. And if you look at like their career of music over like the course of everything, they haven't necessarily been that consistent with their sound. I mean, that's not like the biggest secret. That's kind of what he's pointing out. So the fact that he's dealing with this loss in an inconsistent way, it's just, you should have expected this, is I guess what he's trying to convey. He's kind of pointing out a little bit how he should be more grateful, you know, that he had to like watch his entire world like fall apart and stuff. And he's expressing his pain again. I don't know. I didn't enjoy this song as much as the other ones. I do like the part where he's like, excuse me while I sympathize, singing with the fat lady. They tell me at the time, you know that it's not afraid to cross the line. Nothing's forever. Don't be mad at the design. And you still get like this sense of loss and whatnot. But I guess this little passage kind of shows that where the flaw of these personal albums comes in. As individual songs, it's interesting. Like, it's fun to listen to a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, sorry. But at the end of the day, a lot of the subject matter hasn't evolved a lot. So some of the tracks will as we'll see, are nuanced in different ways, but I felt like this one was just a little bit more just raw expression. He's still losing it all, etc. And I mean, he has lines like "still upset from shit that's 15 years old," and then there's Genius annotations. Sometimes I hold a grudge. And this is all cool. This is all fine. This is all therapy and expression. But I guess I could have lived without this one as like a person listening to music. But the first listen was nice. I enjoyed like feeling with him. But the third or fourth one, I felt it was like, okay, there are better songs to feel with Mike on this album. So I gave it a 3.75. And those of you watching may be feeling that with what I'm saying, that nothing just makes sense anymore.
Now that I am waking, no one's left to answer.
Now this one is so interesting because it's like balls to the walls a pop song. Like it's not even trying to rap or be like rock or anything. It's just like Mike's going in with the singing and stuff. And I love it. Like this is the first song I've heard on the project where I'm like, okay, there's something here to like really like sink my teeth into and really enjoy. Lyrically, it's in the same vein of things. I used to know what the bottom was, somewhere far under the ocean waves, up on a ledge. I was looking down. It was far enough to keep me safe, but the ground cracked open, threw me in the ocean, cast me out away at sea, and the waves are still breaking. Now that I awaken, no one's left to answer me. I mean, this is more poetic. It's a little more imagery, so I guess maybe he was sitting at a beach when he wrote this or whatever. So you picture that whole idea of using the endless nature of water and the depths of it and like the violent, turbulent nature of like the ocean destroying your sandcastle or whatever, to kind of like contextualize the loss that he's dealing with, and how at one point in life he understood what was going on, but then this tragedy occurs and all of a sudden the answers are gone and nothing makes sense anymore. And that's some deep stuff. I can't deny that. I kind of like the chorus, the flippy floppy, my insides out, my left is right, my upside downs, my black is white. Like, it's not like break the world interesting and new, but the way he expresses it and the poppy singiness to it, it just felt so right. It felt like this is the right kind of words to be singing to this. Like, this was a vibrant beat compared to the other three. Like, this was like a step up in my opinion. This was like really layered and interesting. I think maybe it was also the pianos that really helped it in light of it all. I believe there was some super synthesized piano work in there. I liked it all. Like, I just felt it was fun to listen to. I don't know. I can't see any other lyrics in here that are really like profound and whatever. It's again in line with just honest expression. It's what he's going to do a lot on this project, and I don't want to just be super repetitive. So I gave this one a 4.5 on 5. It has the right kind of energy, the way he chose to sing it and deliver these vocals, and the way it almost seems like it's almost like you're going through all the stages of like depression and getting over shit with Mike on this project, and here's like almost the first of the turning points where it goes from just being like aimless to like almost a little bit more recognition of how things are going to change, etc. And yeah, so that's about that for that one. Let's talk about You.
Buckled up, told myself to suck it up. I was scared to death to get up there and spill.
This one has more of a rap feel to it at first with the way he comes in on that verse, but the chorus is still kind of got that airy poppiness. So what I gotta say is, as the album progresses, to give it credit, it does vary the degree. Let's say there's a ratio of like pop to hip hop that he's going on, and then from his vocal style of he's gonna sing or he's gonna rap or some combination of the two. And like each song seems to have, like if you were to like visualize it, like those color meters with the 3 lines, each one like puts it all somewhere different and synthesizes this unique combination of styles, but all in the same vein of like the same general sound. This one features Blackbear, who I'm not certain who that is, but I really enjoyed the end part where they're singing, and he just sounds proper, you know? Like, it's very opaque, as they say. It's not like a really, it's not a very clear what he's saying. So sorry, not very specific. Like, can't find the words to a memory, but these are just the words to a melody. Find something that wears fist to symmetry for only a quick broken remedy, and I give anything to choose, etc. So it's very vague. It's very much in that, like, here, listen to this the next time you are dealing with some shit and find your own meaning and find your own purpose. And as like, it's coping music. That's what I started to realize. Like, the next time I'm going through some serious loss in my life, this is a coping music type of album. And I feel like a bridge like that, with that Blackbear contributed here, is really that kind of loose feel that allows you to like fill in the gap with your own story. Even though the remaining part of the song is a little bit more about Mike. He's like, I like how he starts it, like this, that gather round and wonder where I found it. This, that wake up and have your agent have your tour rerouted. This, that drama, comma, pain, and ain't no way around it. Because somehow still it's hard to know what I can say about it. Like, tragedy happens. I mean, they were on tour. MGK and Linkin Park were in the middle of this tour. It was about to start or something. They just announced it. Genius had made that little video. Everybody was popping. It looked cool. I was like in my head pretending I was going to go to the show, and then obviously I was never going to go because I don't do that as much as I should. I should go. But then it had to get canceled in light of the circumstances, and that kind of felt really real to me, you know? And then I liked how like this song kind of takes the idea from Mike's perspective that, like, even when it's not about you, so it's not about Mike, it's about Chester and what happened there, all of a sudden it's about you now, like because of his affiliation or his association with Chester. Now it's actually about this situation. So I thought that was really deep again, and I kind of like the chorus, but it still feels like the other choruses on this project. So from like a critical perspective, I'm not feeling it as much. From a lyrical perspective, it gets me in the feels because of the whole situation. I like how he's like, no, there's not a single thing I can say Not a single solitary, every meaning changes shapes, even though there's no connection back to you. And anytime, all of a sudden, it's about you, and it gets me every time. What the fuck is left to author anyway, when I was basically been writing since the Raiders ran LA, which apparently is a reference to 96, and I don't really know why, but Mike's kind of almost pointing out that, like, he's been at this for so long, and he's kind of maybe gone through all sorts of different things and created so many sounds that he's not really certain within himself what direction to go, what he can do with this anymore. It's just kind of like bleak. Like, you're really inside of his head. Like, I remember sitting there about a year ago going, I wonder what's going on, checking their Twitters like every day and seeing how like nothing was being communicated, right? So hearing all of this, it's like, thank you for like answering all of my questions that I may have had about how you're feeling and what this process has been like and what you're going through. I just kind of wish I liked this sound a lot more. So I'm giving this a 4.25 because there is so much to enjoy in this as a fan of him, but it's hard to enjoy this as not a fan of the music per se, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, I might just be kind of sounding like I'm brooding over an instrumental with no music. So there's like this scratchiness in this instrumental that like doesn't go away the whole song. Just like this kind of sound in like the background of it as everything else takes on. And that, I feel, makes it just sound raw. Like, I think that's what that was trying to convey, that everything you're about to hear is raw. And albeit there are no words in this track, it manages to convey so much to you as a listener, and it's really one of my favorite pieces on this project because of that. Maybe it's the lack of synthesized voice allowed the production to really shine, because I don't mind the production in terms of in and of itself. It's just the overall sound that the whole package sounds like that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. But here, like, I feel like instead of it having the vocals, it's like this, the music is telling you this tale. It starts out kind of calm and it's got some melodies and stuff, and then all of a sudden it just gets really bass driven and thumpy as you feel like maybe more passion gets thrown in, and it kind of just cascades and transcends through different moods as it goes on, and it evolves, and it's really a non-static, alive, dynamic experience. And I found it well made, really fun to listen to, a good hybrid sound of multiple genres, and I think you should totally check this one out. If you're not even down for any of the Mike Shinoda vocal parts, this is a worth it track to check out just for like an ambient kind of sound to have. I give it a 4.5 on 5. One of my favorites, like I just said. And Promises I Can't Keep is the next one for us to talk about. Alright, so we are back into that super produced sound. And I feel like pretentious just speaking like that, but that's how I feel about it. Like, I want to hear the rawness that's Mike is conveying with these words and what he's doing with it, but instead there's a lot of effects and stuff thrown on top of it, and the music is very like electronic influenced and pop sounding. And I know I feel like I'm a hater here, and it makes me sad a little bit to come off like that, because I again really appreciate the words he's putting out there and the message in this song. Like, what's the difference between a man and a monster? Is it somewhere between I can and I want to, which is just so powerful. It's like in the idea of the promises not being kept, right? So I can and I want to. I can is like I will do it. I will be that person. And then all of a sudden I can instantly turn into I want to so quickly, right? And when that happens, it's honestly like you go from being a person who honors your commitments to like being awesome, to being a man, like proper and shit, to literally being a monster for the disappointment that you create amongst people. So you can see how Mike is going through this kind of feelings of self-hatred almost, because he knows he can't keep those commitments and he's disappointing people. And it makes him kind of question if he in and of himself is a monster. And we really get that emphasized with the, is it somewhere between the promises I made and the fact that I couldn't see something getting in the way. So he has tried to make promises to people and commitments, I guess. I don't know if it was to Chester. I wonder if this is even just talking like, why, maybe I failed you in some way. Like maybe I disappointed you and I didn't keep a promise, or maybe it's to the people around him through his coping mechanism. But it really got me feeling that a lot could be going on here. And then like I used to think I know what I wanted, never saw it coming unglued. I used to think that I know what I wanted. Now it's time to see if it's true. So the chorus is like, or pre-chorus, whatever it is, it's fine. It's a little bit more of like, I used to be certain in my life, and now it's time to like see if the things I used to believe in are really the stuff that matters. It's time to see if my principles really counted. I'm literally being put to the test. The steel is in the fire being forged. And I appreciate the sentiment. I don't appreciate, I guess, the repetition and delivery in it. I feel like a lot of these songs have a very similar structure to them. And again, I'm not trying to like be a dick to Mike. I'm just trying to express how I feel. I know this is not like an album that should be put under a microscope of super criticism. This is his like fucking therapy sessions, but I mean, this is what this channel does. So, I had so much certainty till that moment I lost control, and I've tried, but it was never up to me. I've got no worse enemy than the fear of what's still unknown. And I love these lines. I love the fact that we get this side of him, this like open window into his soul. And because like I said, if you're going through a tragedy and you play along through this album, especially with the direction the later part of this album takes, this is something to cope to. So if you are experiencing some kind of loss and you are connecting to this and you find me offending you, I'm really sorry. I understand that this is sensitive material and I'm a bit crass. Still, I heard some wub wub wubs in there, like that good old dubsteppy popular wub 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 sound, and that was kind of cool. I thought that would be worth pointing out, and I gave it a 3.75. It resonates with me as a fan of him. I just can't see myself putting this one on again. I hope that's not crossing a line, everyone.
I don't know how to warn you for what I'm gonna say.
I don't actually dislike the effects on his voice as much in this song. I feel like it really works a little bit better, and I like this song more. It's like a unique subject matter as far as all things are concerned. So we've moved into maybe, I guess Mike's starting to be more considerate of other folk around him, at least on the project. He's starting to, this song's kind of about how he knows he's making this solo project and it's like the right direction he needs to take in his life. And he's kind of questioning how the remaining members of Linkin Park and the Fort Minor crew and everyone's going to feel, because he does have these avenues and he could have made a new Linkin Park record with the boys and it could have been like a bonding experience together, or it could have been like a Fort Minor thing and with those boys and whatever, but instead he kind of went as a solo way. And maybe before he had kind of written this song before he presented the idea to the rest of the band and whatnot. So this song kind of presents his anxiety and his fear of having everyone take it in a bad way. And maybe he crossed the line with his choice to make this a solo endeavor. And so then we get this songs, right? And that's where lines like, they'll tell you I don't care anymore. And I hope you know that's not a lie, because I found what I've been waiting for. But to get there means crossing a line. So crossing a line here is, I'm not including y'all in this thing. We are a thing, but I'm going to go over there and do my thing. I hope that's not like offending y'all. And then everyone else is going to take it a certain way, and you're going to get people and bloggers and stuff telling you a certain thing. And I hope you know that at the end of the day, I'm still with y'all. This is just something I have to do, you know? And I don't know how to warn you for what I'm going to say, because you're holding on tight, what I'm taking away, etc. It's just really like, it goes on like that, and it goes into like cleaner vocals when he's doing the verses. The chorus is a little more synthesized. I like the part where it's like, it's not about status. We know what never was, because what good is a kingdom when you're missing the love? This is not a goodbye. I'm not going away. No, I don't have the answers, but I do have the faith. So he's kind of letting everyone know that, look, Linkin Park's still a thing. Everything's still a thing. We're not disbanding. It's just at this point in my life, I need to take some time to go on my own little journey here. And as a fan, I love that, because it's like this reaffirming that they are going to stay together and they are going to work through this and they are going to have something new for us in the future, even if it's this pop stuff. And that makes me excited and happy. And it means maybe there's a Fort Minor project coming in the future or whatever. It's just, here we just have this really cool song about Mike letting us all know that it's okay. This is just him doing this thing, and things are going to go back to normal once he's ready. And I really dig that. It almost makes listening to this whole project like part of the process. Like, I'm going through this with him. And even if it's not my favorite sound, I want to hear this because it makes me feel better, I guess, or something. I don't know. The whole Chester thing really hit me hard, and I don't know. I kind of want to support him in some way, you know? So I really dug this track. I think it's more polished in a sense. It's more easy to digest as a person or as me. And I give it a 4.25. One of the better ones. One I would listen to if I wanted to come back to this project. So yeah, let's move on to Hold It Together. I like this one a little bit more too. Like it's kind of got a cooler energy. I like how it starts off with she said, "Are you okay?" And I'm staring into space. It's making her nervous because one thing is certain, I don't have my head on straight. And that is just an interesting idea, right? Like sometimes when I get upset, at least, I just kind of get like really vacant. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything. I'm not even really aware of what's going on around me. I can literally stare at the wall for like 45 minutes while like my brain processes whatever it's dealing with, you know? And the people who might be around you while you're going through something like that, it might be uncomfortable, you know? They might not be so thrilled witnessing this type of a situation. And I like that he's kind of showing that angle of this process. Like what you're really getting to see is Mike's trying to take this whole thing and like put it out on display. And that's really cool. That's really like, I want to see more people doing that. So I hope that throughout this process, you haven't thought that I don't enjoy what's happening here. It's just not my favorite sound. And I really feel that a little bit more on here. So it's kind of calm, solid. Like it doesn't have a lot of like, I feel like the energy is a little bit lackluster, but it really sounds like a boy band song too, right? Like he's expressing how he feels. They like, I don't know. Again, he has the world spinning. I don't have a lot to comment on the lyrics. I do like the part, or not like, I think it's interesting when he points out, they say that they sympathize and grateful they take the time. So this is where I guess all of us are like, Mike, we appreciate it, we're sorry and stuff. But then he follows that up with, but bringing it up at this 6-year-old birthday, it kind of fucks up my vibe. And we end on an awkward note. I make the most awkward joke. Too dark to be funny. I should not have come. It's weird, but it'd be weird to go home and I'm struggling. So this actually happened. He had some like story where he was at like some 6-year-old's birthday party and somebody came up and like asked him about the situation. And it made him feel really bad. And he told us all about it here in the song, what happened. But you really have to consider it because I see it happen all the time. I mean, I've gone through a couple of little minor things, and just the way people approach you and they say these, they try to show like appreciation or sympathy or something, but it ends up coming off in this like uncomfortable situation because maybe like I think as we find it on this song, like that day he was doing okay. Life was going good until that happened, and it took him off of his okay, and it puts you into that negative headspace. And, you know, altogether, Mike's just trying to hold it together. He's letting us know again that it's been a challenge and that this is another snapshot into, I guess, dealing with more of the socializing that comes with it. Like life continues to happen, right? That's what he meant by the world spinning part. Like life continues to happen even though you're not necessarily there. So maybe the first month or so you can take your time off and completely vacate from the world, but then you start to have responsibilities again. You start to have obligations, and at the end of the day, you've got to show up, do your thing, and somehow make it through the day. I mean, for a patch, I was kind of negative on this channel. There was some stuff going on I couldn't really talk about, but everything about me was negative for like 3-4 months, and I had a lot of trouble holding it together, I guess you could say. So when I think about myself in that headspace, this album I really appreciate a little bit more, but I'm not necessarily there right now. So the next time I go through Tragedy, I'll check it again and update you on how I feel about this. But I give it a 4 right now because it's okay. It's a good song, but it's not a great song to me. The next one is Ghosts.
Lights go down. I see things I can't.
All right, this one's a little more upbeat in tone. The music video starts off with like Mike. I didn't watch all of them, but like Mike's kind of like talking to a computer, and he's like, "I had a good day today. I'm allowed to have a good day." Like, and you kind of get the sense where if you have no context, it looks kind of dorky, but like he feels guilt and sadness and stuff, so he's been having trouble finding that positivity, so he capitalized on this moment, and he created this sock puppet music video that's so ridiculous and stuff, but he must have had so much fun making it, and that's cool, and it made me really enjoy the video watching Mike have fun play with sock puppets, so his presence and joy was cool. This one is like, I guess it's about ghosts. in the sense that he feels spirits or something, or he's questioning some stuff. Like, check it. So she said, this is not about a poltergeist, not about a phantom that glows at night, but there are things we don't know, and I don't have another choice but an open mind. Oh, I don't know what they'll say. I'm trying not to make sense of what no one can explain, but I've been having dreams at night, and after I'm awake, they play out in reality the next day, so play along and nod my head when they say I'm wrong, but each time night falls away, I run on the other side till the daylight comes. So he has terrible dreams that are haunting out and bad things. So maybe he keeps dreaming that Chester's gone and he wakes up and it's true. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle of badness that's going on. Or maybe he feels the presence of him, or he sees stuff in the dark when things aren't okay, like his mind frame's all there. But what I really think is super fascinating is how he almost goes, I feel like I have no choice but to believe in ghosts and the supernatural and all of that. And I have to keep an open mind because it's the only way to like cope with this situation. And so I'm being brave and I'm like throwing out this ridiculous idea that I now believe in ghosts because like it's all I can do, right? It's all I can do to like feel better and to cope with this situation. I don't care what you have to say. This is my triumph in a sense. Like this almost feels like a mini triumph to himself. Like he can just do this ridiculous thing and that's cool, you know? I don't know. When the lights go down, I see things I can't explain, calling out my name, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's okay. It's a bit of a corny chorus. It's all right. I'm not super sold or thrilled on the premise of the song, but I love the energy he puts forth. I like when he's like, this is not about you and me. I can't bring back how it used to be. And I know what I do believe, but I've already seen what I couldn't see, etc. And like you just get this really like I just miss Chester. That's how I felt, and I've seen him twice in concert, and I'm so grateful for that. But just like anytime I think about the fact that it'll never happen again, and then I picture what Mike must be going through, and then I hear a song like this, and I'm like, okay, it's a bit of a rush, it's a bit of an emotional experience. But I give the song a 4 because again, it's really consistent. This album is very consistent in terms of the sound it's going for and what it's trying to be for the most part. But the next one comes with a feature in the form of K.Flay, Make It Up As I Go.
The time I don't, maybe I can't make what it may take to leave this.
Yeah, we're still kicking with the pop sounds here, but K.Flay really fits. That chorus, the energy on it, she sounds wonderful. I keep on running backwards, I keep on losing faith, I thought I had the answers, I thought I knew the way. I don't know that I need to comment on that. I feel like I've commented on that idea like twice already, and that's fine. Like, it's the theme of this album, and I'm not hating on that. It's okay. I like the next part a little bit more. My brother said be patient. My mother held my hand. Don't know what I'm chasing. Don't know who I am. And I like the fact that like there's this idea that the folk around you are supporting you and letting you know that like as time goes on, it will in fact heal all of the wounds, and you might not know what's going on right now, but it's going to be okay. And I love that the song kind of sells this it's going to be okay feeling, you know? Woke up this morning holding my head, thinking last night is one I'll regret, washing off the bad decisions, the blurry vision, the clues I'm still a mess, spitting out the taste I have in my mouth, knowing what it's really about, knowing there's an explanation, I gotta figure shit out. You know, it's a little bit like he's kind of like looking at his life in the current sense, and he doesn't really understand how to be a person anymore, and some of the choices he may be making are not the wisest, and etc. But at the end of the day, in this mess, he's just still cleansing himself in a sense, and he's still trying to figure it out. And I guess it really goes with the title, Making It Up As I Go. I really like at the end part when he's like, I didn't have the patience left to explain, didn't want to wake when nobody came. I know the path I had's uneven, but while I'm breathing, I have to make my own lane. And I feel like he doesn't really want to explain himself, and I guess when you go through some stuff at a certain point, you're going to feel that way. Like, you don't want to have to answer what the fuck anymore. Like, you are trying to just figure it out. You're already struggling. You're already coping with enough crap in your head and whatnot. So he's trying to be like, look, as long as I'm alive, as long as whatever, I don't care if it looks pretty. I don't care what the end result really is, but I'm going to go do my thing, and I'm going to figure out my own way to do it, regardless to what you think, etc. And I like that. I like that confidence he put forward, and that, like really, it's like a firm song of, like, it's a little more joyful. I give it a 4.25. I think K.Flay really adds that spice that really sells the sound more, you know? Like, having that, like, really, like, making it a nice, more palatable pop sound to me. The next one had some features I wasn't expecting, so let's talk about Liftoff.
I'm drop mics, only let it smoke where I said it, and I don't play, even when they press it.
Alright, so this one is featuring Chino Moreno, who does the hook. It's really kind of a calmer thing. I didn't really quote it or anything. It was nice. It was like a little break between two fucking proper rap verses, some actual rap verses. I'm not saying that there weren't like proper ones, but like I guess when you bring Machine Gun Kelly onto your song, you've got to come in with that proper spirit of things. So Mike comes in and he's rapping and like, yeah, lift off Virgin Galactic, my Richards to Branson to fuck with you bastards. And I love that line, okay? Like, Richard Branson is an interesting fucking guy, and the Virgin Enterprise is super interesting. I plan on reading the dude's autobiography. And so Virgin Galactic, like, this is the whole next era of where Virgin Enterprises is going. But what's cool about the Richard line is Richard is just dick. So he's saying my dick's too fucking Branson, too out there to fuck with you bastards. It is actually a really fucking clever line. It might be the best bar on the album. Very legendary. That's a matter of fact shit. Yes, Mike, that last line, in my opinion, was extremely legendary, and I'm stating it like it's a matter of fact shit. And that's where the genius people would like take your connotation and go, restating the line. Yeah, it's true. I like the next one too. It's fucking fire. Your opposite of stars, like rat spelled backwards. That might not even be like original, but it's cool because I never thought of it. So yeah, that's a sick fucking line. Anyway, he goes on and he fucking talks about going off into space a little bit. I didn't really like have like I don't want to like just say every line and quote it as fucking dope. It's a great fucking verse. I like how he ends it a bit. I'm a father to your style. Don't you ever forget it. I don't drop mics, only let it smoke where I said it. And I don't play even when they press it. Get it? It's so fucking like fire and like intensity in the way that he's like coming in. It's like, shit, Mike Shinoda just dropped this amazingly intense, he's fucking great verse. And it's such a tone shift from like the rest of this album. So like I guess maybe he's at this point maybe recovered a little bit. Now he's ready to come in slaying again. And then Machine Gun Kelly comes in and he has some like please brace for impact with an effect on his voice, and then must have been went to space and got sent back, but I'm still intact. In fact, take a picture of me. You can see that I'm a star from your lens crack supernova. And it's pretty braggadocious. It's pretty cool. It's a solid MGK verse. I can't say that it's over the top in terms of like awesome punch bars. Like I feel like they both flow really well and their lines are great in terms of just being solid verses. But not every line's like out of the park, but one that is here for MGK that I thought was used to think I was a Joko. No Jared Leto when I said I'd get us out the ghetto. Slam my foot on the pedal, booked a studio when I couldn't afford instrumentals. Fuck it, record a cappella. And that's some sick shit right there. You guys get the Joker, no Jared Leto line, but the way it rhymes with getting out the ghetto, and then to the point where the dude just recorded acapellas because he knew that like he'd fucking find a beat later on. Then he goes on and compares himself to each Scooby-Doo member, and it's actually done pretty well. 4.5 on 5. I really love the energy of this song. I think they deliver their shit proper, and I don't know. I wish it had been a little less braggadocious or at least a little more clever, and then I would have given it the 5. But it was fucking close. This is a song I can really get behind. I.O.U. is the next one.
Main course is my main sport. Play major, but minor's my main fort.
So this is like a little bit of a straight up rap song as opposed to some of the other ones. He's coming in and I think he had originally intended this to be a Fort Minor song because of the tone of it being significantly different than the project. Like the beat feels different. Like everything about this just feels like we've gone to a whole new album, which is cool. I really appreciated that little break actually because it is 16 songs and a lot of them are similar. So this was nice. He put it on the project because now that people heard him kind of ramming in a little more of a dissing people battle-y kind of sense, they're like, hey, Mike's coming back. Mike's getting back in the game. So as to kind of maybe show some of the recovery process, like this is just a sign that things are getting back to normal. He felt it would be a cool fit to throw into the later part of this album. And I'm so grateful he did. It was really nice to listen to. It comes in like rapping, like, yeah, levitating off the blacktrop. Used to struggle getting started, now I can't stop. Used to be the quiet kid in the sandbox, now it's hands up every time like your man rocks. You ought to stop me coming in again, you mad? Anyway, and he goes on like that. But it's not like he sounds like he's going fucking hard. And he's kind of going fucking hard the way Will Smith goes fucking hard, where it's still kind of safe and held back. But you know that he's got the qualifications to fucking wreck anyone else based on how they rap the songs. So it was kind of like a subdued feel. I kind of like I eat 'em, delete 'em. They're barely beginners. Main chorus is my main sport. Play major, but minor's my main fort. Get it? Fort Minor's his band. So put a chain around everything I came for. Look but don't touch. Sucker, tell him I take an I.O.U. And that's where the chorus kicks in with his I.O.U. And then he goes in, and I don't really like that. It's okay. It's like I don't really get the joke. Like, okay, so people try to take advantage of Mike across the way. So anyone who's trying to like step over there, oh, you can take an I.O.U. instead of whatever. It's just a little corny. So I felt that the chorus on the song was a little bit corny. It was like dad jokes in the sense of the tone of it, which is fine. But it's not the greatest. I kind of like the chorus, the verses though, like levitating in the blackout, used to drink at least a 40 before we mashed out. And he has this little story about how when they were teenagers, they get fucking drunk till they got caught. Then he was in a lot of trouble. And used to think that working 40 was a max out. Now I'm working even when I'm sleeping. Do the math now. So he's basically saying he works 168. And then the next line talks about how he's a red strip over his eyes because he sleeps literally with his eyes open and watches people as they sleep and whatnot. And so that was kind of interesting to learn. End of the day, yeah, I like when he goes, I got history. I'm 81 Reagan with that nonsense miss me because in 81, Reagan was almost assassinated and he didn't die. So he makes that point. Reagan died in the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. This is an okay song. Great beat. It's grimy. It's nice. 4.25. If it had been a little less corny, I would have really been behind this. Let's talk about Running From My Shadow. I like this one. Like, it's got a cooler energy. Comes in with his rap, and it's again that like good, like almost Linkin Park rap flow. Like, wanna know where I don't go when it goes from okay to a oh no, when like that Linkin Park kind of feel to it. So I really enjoyed that. And then he kind of goes in, and it's there's not a lot of new here in terms of the themes. So when it goes from a high five to a low blow, when it goes from all five to a solo, so now he's doing his own project. Let me tell you what you don't know. I've been down so low, which is cool because he went from solo and so low. And like, I like what he's doing here. Everything feels by the numbers proper on this project. He's expressing himself, but I love the fact that he's taken this twist to it, like proper, like what I hope when I hear Mike Shinoda rapping. Like, that's the tone I'm hoping for. And I like it. Then he sings a bit on the hook. There are times when I kick myself, say I'm not sick, but I can't get well. Say I got this while I chase my tail as if they can't tell. I'm running from my shadow, but it's still chasing me down. I'll never win the battle, I should have known it now. And he's just really commenting on kind of the redundancy, and it's like he feels like he's that little horse chasing a little rabbit that he's never going to get or whatever. And, he's kind of, in light of the context of like everything we've been listening to, it's interesting, right? And it is part of that coping process, and he just doesn't really yet feel proper or whole. I like that end part that Grandson does, that high pitch kind of cool singiness to it. It has this very eerie, off-putting kind of tone to the song. I love the energy on the production of the beat. It feels like it's more guitar driven by the end, a little more heavier, a little more fun to listen to. I had a music video where they're just kind of bopping around this empty vacant area. I give it a 4.25. I'm not really sure what else to comment at this point. It was enjoyable, but it's still, it left, all of these songs are leaving me a little lacking as like therapy sessions and being inside of Mike's head. It's totally wonderful. There's a couple more left on this project, so let's talk about World on Fire. Don't always think to say it, but it's true. Another one on the more poppy end of it, so there's not a lot of rapping. Not even that many lyrics to go through. It's a shorter, singier kind of stuff. The beat is really, I think, the stellar selling point of this. It's got a lot of funky drums and rhythms that kick in that really add this like flair. Like it kind of, I love that stuff. That like erratic, almost sounding drum patterns, the kind of stuff that you see later on in the song. The whole funkiness to it, the whole vibe of the song has like almost a different like rhythm. Maybe it's like the bass, everything is just not so what we've heard on the project, which is nice. It's really cool. Like when you do get to like these end tracks on the project, and they kind of come off like some fresh material, so that you're not feeling like it's just completely dragging on. Lyrically, same kind of stuff. Don't think I need to say this because you know what's in my head. Fucked up is an understatement. Can't wait for this to end. It all fell apart. Don't know where to start. Everything moves so slow. I can't get a break. It's too much to take. But closing my eyes is all I know. When the world's on fire, all I need is you. I don't always think to say it, but it's true. And, you know, the twist on this track is while he's dealing with all of the various feelings that he's expressed throughout the whole project, he's almost taken a step back to remember and look at all the support he's getting from everybody. So he's pointing out that you, which could be us, the fans, it could be his family, just the people around him, they're his like rock. They're the things that keep him grounded to reality. And he's really emphasizing how important it is to have these things. And in light of all the bad stuff that's going on, he's really just grateful. And I appreciated that. It was kind of nice. It was nice to take that time in the middle of like his therapy session to just thank everybody in his own way. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, everyone's there. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a good song. I feel like it's consistent for like this end part of quality, which feels like a bit better than some of the middle part that was happening. So I'm giving it a 4.25. I don't have a lot more to say, and there's one more. So I Can't Hear You Now is the last track.
Right now I'm floating above it all.
What I have to say about this closing song is it's got a certain triumphant feel to it, and it fits really well as a closing song. So considering all the ones on this project, I like it as the album ender. It does go a little bit more to the singy pop stuff again, which I feel like it's a little more lackluster than the last few we've heard, but none of those really felt like closers, so okay, I get it. The song kind of like has him addressing the fact that people have their feedbacks and their ideas and whatnot, but he can't hear it. He's kind of figuring out his own thing. Like, he's still lost in his head, but it's almost like I feel like there's a sense of him getting to where he wants to be. Running back, tell him where I'm coming at. I was on that bullshit. Now I'm done with that. Scared of what I didn't want, scared of what I wanted at. Thought I was finished, but I had hardly begun. In fact, I'm a beast, a monster, a savage, and any other metaphor that you can imagine. And I got a caption for anybody asking. That is I'm feeling fucking fantastic. And so you get the sense that like he's really like, after all of what he's gone through, he's starting to find his way again. He's starting to recognize that some of the behaviors or the way he's been feeling over the last year maybe don't make as much sense as they should. And maybe he's engaged in some bad habits or something. And you find him kind of like realizing what the fear in his life was, realizing everything that he's expressed over the course of this project, and take it and show that he's got this fire inside of him and he's ready to come back, which is really encouraging. I really like almost the energy and the tone that he's taking on this. I like the honesty in lines. Like, some days it doesn't take much to bring me down. Some days I'm struggling for control. Some days, you know, like it's just powerful. Like, it's just a powerful thought. The realization of how fragile an emotional state is in light of especially after you're coping and dealing with some kind of a tragedy. So like we learned about that 6-year-old birthday party, it can just take one question, one sympathizing, well-intentioned person to almost ruin your day. But I like that he follows like, woke up knowing I don't have to be numb again. That's beautiful, right? Like, we've gone through all of this, and he now knows that like things are gonna be okay. I don't know. Like, I almost feel like he's giving fucks back. Tell him I'm not coming in. Whatever. Like, he's like the boss, so whatever. I'm feeling great. I'm starting to feel like I care. I'm not going to work today. I'm going to go live life. Is kind of what I took from that. It's nice. It's triumphant. It's a good way to end this project. But I give it a 4 because I listened to it about 3 or 4 times, actually. I kept like kind of looped it a bit at the end, and it's so non-distinct that it's hard to really give it a higher mark. There's nothing really in it that I felt stands out outside of the tone of the lyrics. It doesn't even really feel that different. It's just the tone of the lyrics. And Anyway, so that's that. I guess we can move on to the little part where we wrap up. For those of you like skip to the end, this is the part where the album is now summarized as a whole. It is a consistent project of that. It kind of feels like One More Light, the rap album, and it's got that sound that like Linkin Park really had there. So if you really dug One More Light and it was the kind of album that you really wanted to listen to, but were wishing to hear Mike rap and sing more, you got it. It's this project. I feel like it's kind of like if you love that sound, you're going to love this album. But for me, I give it a 4.174. I don't like the sound enough to listen to 16 songs of it in a row. And while there are a couple that deviate away, he manages to make every song kind of feel that way. That modern pop, soft, kind of like lacking edginess. Like there's no edge on this album. And that's fine. It's all about this therapy session. So as I said earlier on, or at parts throughout the review, the person who enjoys music in me feels a little conflicted. Because then there's the Linkin Park and Mike Shinoda fan in me that listened to this, and I feel like it answered so many questions I've had, like how you're feeling, how things are going to go, what's going to happen next, what's going on, are we going to get anything? And we got this project that really just takes you through his state of mind and everything that's been happening. And I think it's beautiful what he pulled off. And I don't want my review here to be taken in a way where it's like I think it's a bad project. I think it's a great project worth making that people who are fans of the band should listen to, and it should be something that's appreciated. But sonically, it's not my cup of tea. So I don't even know if I'm going to listen to this again, to be honest with you. But I'm so grateful that I did listen to it. There's a couple of songs I'm going to listen to again. My favorites are definitely Lift Off and I.O.U. To me, those are the rappier ones. So if you're really into like the rap side of Mike, check those out. Everything else fits the popper side. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, because thank you for watching. I kind of said that weird, but thank you for watching. I appreciate you sticking with me. It's one of the first reviews I've done by myself. The format's the same, but it was just me talking this all the time. And so if you stuck with that and you dug it, you're fucking cool. And I think that it's worth saying thank you. I also want to thank Lindell Williams and Mozart, our patrons. They are awesome. They're supporting us. And if you want to see this grow, better equipment, a new studio, more resources, maybe even get some people to help us on the research end of it, you can help us out there. And you can join our request raffle, where once a month you can throw in a request for us to cover something, and we'll pick from that list randomly. And then you can get the access to the content early and a few other cool things we want to throw together through Patreon. If you have ideas, we'd love to hear it. But if you don't want to do that, you can still just hit that subscribe button and tell YouTube that you think we're cool, and you can hit that like button and tell YouTube that you think we're cool, and you can leave a comment, which also does that same thing for telling YouTube we're cool. Anyway, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'm rambling a bit at this end, and have yourself a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back with more solo reviews in the future. This is something I want to do to try to like get to more albums that I don't have a chance to listen to, although I think I'm going to do it more of a reaction styled video on a separate channel. So I haven't quite figured out what the best move is, but let me know what you think. Peace.